Venus, signs of extraterrestrial life. How Russian scientists found something moving in secret Soviet images. We've had this is a NASA image. Look at this thing. It looks like an H in the middle of some kind of a raised area of a crater, perhaps. But more images coming out by Russian astronomers. And this is what one of them looks like. What is that to you? What does that look like to you? Anyway, we know that Venus is the second planet from our sun. We are the third planet. It's a terrestrial planet. It's not a gas giant. It's terrestrial. And it's sometimes called Earth's sister planet because of their similar size, according to Wikipedia. Its mass and proximity to the sun and bulk composition. It's radically different from Earth in other respects. It has the densest atmosphere of the 4 terrestrial planets, consisting more than 96% carbon dioxide. The atmospheric pressure at the planet's surface is 92 times that of our Earth, or roughly the pressure found at 3,000 feet underwater on Earth. So that would be crushing for us, you can understand. Venus is by far the hottest planet of the solar system, with a mean surface temperature of about 863 degrees Fahrenheit. Even though Mercury is closer to the sun, Venus is hotter. It's shrouded in a layer of highly reflective clouds of sulfuric acid, preventing its surface from being seen from space in visible light. So it may have had water oceans in the past. These would have vaporized as the temperature rose due to the runaway greenhouse effect. As one of the brightest objects in the sky, Venus has been a major fixture in human culture for as long as records have existed, and it's been made sacred to the gods of many cultures, has been the prime inspiration for writers and poets, calling it the morning star or even the evening star. But concerning what the Russians have recently disclosed to us, life on Venus. It's an interesting topic for astronomers. And according to a Russian scientist, the Soviet Union recorded proof almost 40 years ago, at the time of the Cold War, of something moving on the surface of Venus. Venera 13 was the probe launched by the USSR back in 1981, and it was to explore Earth's sister planet Venus, touching down a year later into the atmosphere, onto the surface, that is. The details of the mission were kept under wraps because it came at a time of incredibly heightened tensions during the Cold War, as we know, after the U.S. Apollo 11 mission put the first 2 men on the moon in 1969. But 30 years later, Russian scientist Leonid Ksanfomality published an article in the journal Solar System Research, and he claims that the images that the Russians collected contain proof of life on the planet Venus. According to Quest.TV documentary, NASA's Unexplained Files, they reveal how the story unfolded. It's a series made in 2019. It said, a Soviet space probe reached the hottest planet in our solar system, meaning Venus, of course. Quote, a lander packed with a payload of cameras and scientific instruments plunges more than 48 kilometers through clouds of sulfuric acid to reach the surface. The probe sends back images that seem to show something moving on the surface. In the Cold War era, the Soviets kept the findings of the probe a closely guarded secret, and they go on to say it takes 3 decades before a Russian scientist, Leonid Ksanfomality, reveals astonishing images from the archives. And in one image, the Venera 13 landing probe is seen parked on the rocky surface of Venus, and an object shaped somewhat like a crab stands just inches from the feet of the probe. In another image, the Venera 13 taken of this crab-like object appears to be in a different location, and Mr. Ksanfomality says in his paper, let's boldly suggest that the object's morphological features would allow us to say that they are living. Professor of Naval Science Christopher Orwell revealed that NASA experts came up with a more logical explanation. He said, during the 70s and 80s, we knew very little about Venera missions to Venus, that is, the Russian missions to Venus. And he explains he's reanalyzing images and he notices something rather strange. He sees what looks like a disk, which seems to be moving. NASA photo analysts, upon reviewing the photos, have concluded that it was actually probably a lens cap from the camera of the Venera landing probe. Despite this, though, American astrophysicist Hakeem Oulasey said finding life on Venus is not too unrealistic. He says, if you look at all of our space explorations, a lot has been focused on the Moon and Mars, and Venus has been left behind. But Venus might be the most interesting place to observe in the universe. If humans are going to survive in the future, we're going to have to leave Earth. We see in fossil records, and from time to time, much of Earth's life gets wiped out, and more planets we have, the more planets we find as habitable places for us, the better, he seems to say. So yeah, well, obviously, we do have various extinction level events that have taken place in the past, or close to extinction level events. And anyway, tell me what you think. This is by Callum Hoare on Express UK. If you'd like to join me on my Patreon account, you will hear content not covered by mainstream media. These riveting stories will be based on my research, and I will state my opinions and give my personal insight on diverse and controversial subjects and world events not covered by mainstream media, and not supported by YouTube guidelines. So whatever I have on my Patreon, most of those will not be on my YouTube channel. Please consider becoming a member today. More of the most significant and important videos will be on my Patreon channel. Your support helps me to continue my research and keeps this YouTube channel alive. And we depend on your support, your generous charity, because we help economically challenged families here in Athens, Greece, in Kapota, and we also help the young generation with university tuition and the community around our church. Thank you.